Welcome back to This Mobile Life. We bought two different RVs from two different national recognized dealerships, and we had issues with them immediately before we could even start using them. My name's Dustin.
And my name's Emily, and in today's video we're going to talk about those in kind of a buyer's beware scenario. Just some things for you to be aware of when you're going to buy your next RV, whether it's your first one or your seventh. It doesn't matter. These are all good things to know. So,
or if it's the same kind of RV or a different kind, right? There's motorhomes, there's fifth wheels, there's travel trailers.
Yep,
they're all a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly. So we've purchased two used more high-end motorhomes. So one of them was a 40-foot Tiffin motorhome, and the other was an Airstream van motor coach. And these are just a few of the things that we had happen before we even drove off the lot or shortly afterwards. So a couple of the things were with the Tiffin, the black tank still had waste in it from the previous owner. The washer, it has a washer and dryer, and it wouldn't drain at all. So we tried doing laundry and couldn't get
literally,
it out.
it was full. We couldn't even get the water out.
Yeah, exactly. The power steering was leaking. So when we finally did take that coach and we're driving it home, we started getting a funny smell. And that's when we discovered that problem.
Yeah, the first one, we didn't even make it, 10 miles down the road before we had to turn around?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was in the shop for another month after that.
Yeah. The water line for the ice maker was leaking on that motor coach. We had to replace all the gaskets on the main entrance door. One of the windows had a leak. The exhaust pipe had a hole in it, and that was another issue that they had to fix before we could go back to bring it home for the final time.
Yep.
And we also had to replace the ano rod. That was completely all crusted over. Wouldn't have done us any good. And that's just the Tiffin, and those are just some basic things. But with the Airstream, they replaced the wrong fan. The ceiling fan in the bathroom had actual broken fan blades, which were visible to see. Instead, they replaced the expensive Max Air fan in the main living room area. So clearly their PDI that they did wasn't very thorough.
We're gonna turn around, we got little critters over here.
The generator wouldn't work at all on the Airstream, so we had no way of powering it outside of being plugged into electric hookups. The propane water heater didn't work at all. About a week or two after we actually took possession of the motor coach, the Airstream, the awning stopped working, and the switch for the dump tank didn't work.
Not a good problem to have, right?
No.
Yeah. Can't get it out. It's kind of a big problem.
Exactly. So the batteries were completely shot, so we couldn't be off grid with that unit at all until we replaced those batteries. The lights were dim, really dim and burning out, so we had to do a full replacement of those lights. Doesn't work. Works. Doesn't work. Works. Doesn't work. Works. Doesn't really work. Doesn't work anymore. Kinda works. Works on and off. Works. Doesn't work. Works. Doesn't work. And they all keep going back and forth. So we're replacing them all. There was also, this is a really fun one, a solar connector leak on the roof.
That was fun.
So during a really heavy rainstorm, water was leaking in through the roof into a panel behind the light switch, and it shorted it out.
Yep.
And all the lights at midnight, one evening, just all of them turned on, everything.
Yeah.
Everybody was fast asleep.
Luckily, none of the water didn't cause any problems. It didn't cause any damage to any wood or anything, but it dripped right on the dimmer control. We're all asleep, and literally at midnight, every single light in the RV came on at once.
Yeah, luckily that was an easy repair. We were able to get that taken care of pretty quickly. When we first purchased the RV, the tanks were completely clogged. We had to do all kinds of things to get them cleaned out so we could even actually get an empty tank. And there were also, there was some water leaking in the bathroom. We were able to repair that too, but it was just another thing to add to the list.
Yeah, so, we don't want this video to be just a complaint. We'll put a list of all the things on the screen in case we forgot any or we went through them pretty quick. But, the goal of today's video is really to help educate people that, maybe haven't bought an RV before or are just starting, to look for one after a long time, that, an RV salesperson is an RV salesperson. Their job is to sell you, we got Barky Doghouse. We're going to turn around. Sorry, the goal of an RV salesperson is to sell you an RV. And I can't fault them for doing that, right? Their job is to try to find a rig that works for you and get you out the door. When you go to buy one of these, they're supposed to do what's called a pre-delivery inspection. And they did them for both of our RVs.
Mm-hmm.
However,
very well.
Yeah, however, we knew more. So the people that do these every single day,
Yep.
right? They
It's
get
their
them
job.
ready, they clean them up, they test everything. It's their job. We knew more than the PDI delivery person at both dealerships.
Both dealerships, yeah. We had done
For
our
both
research
rigs.
ahead of time, learned a whole ton about both the Tiffin and the Airstream by finding videos on YouTube, finding our manuals online ahead of time so we could read all about them, learn about all the systems. We learned ahead of time about any problems other owners might have had with these particular rigs. I mean, we really, really dug in deep so we could understand what it was that we were purchasing before we signed the paperwork, and that saved us a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, right, our first RV, we had no idea what we were getting into. And even so, we did a ton of just YouTube videos and reading articles. And we went in knowing a lot, and we were able to make sure that everything got addressed,
Yeah.
right after the,
Yep,
right before the purchase, actually.
We had guarantees that they were going to fix these things.
Yep.
And even with the washer leak, it happened a week after we had taken the RV to another state. And we talked to the dealership right away because they were supposed to have tested that before we took it. And we didn't get to use it till about a week later. And the water wouldn't drain. So they were able to send a tech out to us to fix it. We were really lucky.
Yep.
that we got
And that's
that.
not very common, usually.
No, it's
at least at
actually-
their expense.
Yeah, it's actually not at all.
Well, and that's one. Oh, we're gonna turn again. All right, here we go. Stay with us. With the van or the second RV, it was quite the ordeal. We found the van in Georgia.
Yeah.
We had left and we were over in Florida, and we didn't think the deal was going to come together. Ended up working with the dealership, and we told them, hey, we saw this when we were there. This needs to be fixed. They're like, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll get it all fixed.
We gave them a week
Gave them a week.
before we were going to come sign paperwork
Yep.
and do a trade-in with our big motorhome too.
Yep. And drove basically 5-6 hours from Florida over to Georgia. Got there, nothing was done. Like, all the stuff we asked them to fix wasn't fixed. All the issues were still there. The generator didn't work.
Wouldn't work at all.
And we were supposed to basically pack up our stuff.
Unload, trade RVs,
Yep.
load up in a little U-Haul, and because there's a lot more stuff in a Class A than there is in a
Yep.
van, and then turn around and drive 5 to 6 hours back to the RV park.
And we had to leave that day because I had to jump on a plane the next day 5 hours away to go for work. So
another lesson learned there is when you do go to make a big purchase like this, give yourself lots and lots of time in case something goes wrong. Because we have learned that whether it's a new RV or a used RV, there are so many stories out there of these sorts of things happening. It's not just us, it's all over the place. Brand new RVs, everything.
well, we were about ready to walk away. I mean, I didn't want to. We drove this big, huge motorhome over. We were ready to make the change.
But we were willing to.
And you have to be willing to, right? So anyways, they fixed everything that they could. They committed to fixing everything else in writing.
Yes.
At the repair shop of our choice, we just had to send them a quote before the other repair shop
They
did the
approve
work.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And we were able to take off, and that one worked out okay.
Yeah, that one did. But had we not known everything we did ahead of time, there was a good chance we would have just driven away because it was clear that the techs that were doing the PDIs knew a heck of a lot less than we did.
Yep.
So we saved ourselves a lot of trouble. So if you are brand new to the RV industry, bring a friend who knows a ton about RVs with you, or hire a service. There are
RV inspectors.
Yep, exactly. Just like a house inspector if you were to, buy a house. And they can come and they can nitty gritty it. And that a couple $100 that you would spend on that would probably be worth it if you're not as familiar with RVs and RV systems.
The reality is, right, you're not going to find an RV that's perfect, even a brand new one. You're going to, if you buy a brand new RV, there's more than likely going to be something that breaks after you use it.
Oh, absolutely. Guaranteed.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
Probably more than one thing. But when you go to spend 50, 80, 100, 200,000, 400,000 or more on an RV, depending on what you're buying, you expect the stuff to work, right?
Exactly.
At least when you drive it off the lot. So, one other thing to be aware of, especially if you already have an RV, maybe you're full-time like we are, and you're going to go try to get a new RV or a new to you RV, be careful about telling them if you're a full-timer. Now, if you look at our rig, I believe our rig is just as good as condition as any other rig of its same age and vintage.
We take really good care of our property.
Yep. Maybe even better because we use it every single day.
That's right. The systems get used. Things don't sit there and get a chance to seize up or fall apart.
Yep. But sometimes dealers will try to lowball you on a trade because they say it was more heavily used, which is very ironic, because if you remember when we talked about the generator on our Airstream, the reason that was broken, it didn't work, is because it wasn't used.
That's right. The previous owner just used it for an occasional weekend trip. So
Yep.
the generator just never got used, which is why it froze up in the first place.
Yep. So just really be careful. When you go to a dealership, they don't need to know, right? They just want to sell you an RV. So just answer their questions, tell them what you're looking for, have them show you RVs. Don't necessarily share that you're full-time until after you send the paperwork. So
we hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about any of the items that we talk about, or any of the repairs or anything like that, put a comment or send us a message. We would be happy to go into greater detail about how we fix something, or how we negotiated, or whatever
like when the lights all went on at midnight.
Yeah,
We have a video about that. We'll post it up here.
Yep, exactly. So please feel free to give us any feedback. We would love to be more helpful if we can.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you out there.
Bye.